Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 What's up, everybody? How you doing? I bet everybody was expecting big energy. Was it going to be big energy on a Friday? Hold on. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's Friday. Oh, lordy, lordy, it's a Friday. Which, I think in classical terms, back in the day, used to be a big deal. Nowadays, in the days of COVID, seems like every day is pretty much the same day going on forever and ever. It just seems to be the exact same day is going on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But there are worse things in the world, my guy or gal, either way. Luckily, everybody is healthy. Everybody is doing their thing and maintaining some kind of semblance of sanity. I really hope. I hope that's what's going on. I hope you're maintaining your sanity. I realized I needed to scoot my scoot. I had to scoot my boot over here to the other side, which is happening now. So, lucky for us. We have an assorted things I want to talk about today. We're typically on Fridays, we answer the Patreon questions. Now, this is a special kind of Friday because we have no Patreon questions. Over the last week, we lost a lot of patronizers due to... I can't say it's not due to the pandemic because it's basically due to this pandemic situation. We lost a bunch of patronizers, so that was a minor piece of depression. But we have found out, we sorted through and have found out that those people are all healthy and well, and things hopefully will turn around, and that's the important part. That's the important part as far as I'm concerned. Realistically, I'm realistically concerned that way. If I'm going to be really honest with you guys, I do get a little bit depressed and sad when the sponsorship goes down. That does suck because, man, it literally... It puts me back into the perspective of going, crap, is this something that I can do for real? I don't know. But that's the honest little bit of analysis there. I am happy to find out that everybody's okay. They're just having a little financial problems for right now, which is totally all good, all good. Nothing dramatic. No one's losing their home. No one's being evicted or anything like that. They're just getting their... why is... This won't get any smaller? Is that as small as... Okay, it won't fit on this screen being sideways. Whoa! I rescaled it. That doesn't work either. Okay. I was trying to fix the Discord so I could have the Discord on my other screen over here, but because I have this screen vertical, it's not working. But anyhow, like I was saying, nobody has lost their home or their life or anything like that, so... honestly, people just working out their budgets, and I get it. I literally operate the exact same way. When you got to make those budgetary cuts, you got to make those cuts. Although on a personal note, it does make me that weird non-rational depression thing kind of pops up. You know what I mean? Like, that's a reality of just being a person. You know what I mean? Of being a human, right? The lizard brain kicks in and you're like, oh, I'm sad. But I'm glad to hear that everybody's okay and it's not that big of a deal. But we do have a minor announcement to make that it's Nature Man. Shout out this morning. Raised his pledge from $1 to $5. So we got that going. But luckily, we had some, I don't know who, but we had some people repair their Patreon post pledge, so we'll answer that real quick. Although I'm having issues with being able to click on the box so that I can... Why won't it let me do that? All right, hold on a second. I got to rescale this so it'll fit. Is it Control or Alt? I think it's Alt on this one. There, Alt. Let's move that box. There we go. Now we have access. So luckily, we are back up to 230, and it's Nature Man went from $1 to $5, which is just like, whoa, hey, thanks, bro. I appreciate it. I really do. Some people have asked me, like, how I do my finances, like how I rationalize my finances, and what I would tell people out there, like, if you wanted to get into YouTube or whatever independent work, like, let's say you wanted to become a contractor or something like that, where you're working on people's houses or whatever, you realistically could go do your finances, figure out how many dollars per day you need to make in order to pay all of your bills plus, right? You don't ever want to be like exactly at budget, you know what I'm saying? You want to be positive of the budget side. Currently right now with, mortgage, electricity, gas, internet, blah, 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 daycare, healthcare, insurance, gas, all that kind of crazy stuff. When you start adding it all up, I'm at, it basically boils down to I need to make $70 every single day out of the month, but my goal is to make $100 a day in order to be able to pay all the bills and contribute to my very sad retirement fund, which gets neglected a lot. So maybe that's a pointer to somebody out there that's like having issues figuring out their budget. That's something that helped me out many, many years ago, of going like, oh, okay, how much do I need to make every day? So those days that you work an overtime shift, it helps out with the overall average, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So maybe that'll help somebody out that's listening. Or maybe people will just be like, this guy's an idiot, and unsubscribe and get super mad and hit the dislike button on the way out. So there's that too. In fish news, in whatever the fish news may or may not be, I did post about it this morning. This is something that I started working on a couple weeks ago. Still waiting on mail delivery, which I'm going to discuss mail delivery here in just a minute. But the hold on, my notes seem to be missing from the mail stuff, so I'm going to look that up real quick. USPS law, pension law, there it is. And that should put me to my search history. Yeah, there we go. I can have that right there. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. So, anyhow, what the hell was I talking about? Oh, I totally lost track of what I was talking about. Oh, yeah, in fish news, I started working on this a couple weeks ago, waiting on delivery of some Twin Star Light. So I actually I kind of put the feelers out there. I talked to a couple of people about whether or not they like the Twin Star Light, and I either got the response of like, well, they're a sponsor of mine, or I got the answer of like, no, I've never been able to afford, or I just never bought that light. Now, I've seen them on display at so many conventions all around the world, that I was like, you know what, I'm intrigued by this light. They seem to be available ish in the U.S. now, whereas before they weren't that available. It seemed to be you had to jump through like a lot of hoops. Although now they are posted on Amazon, and that's a thing that I think most of us can access. Here's the link, by the way, I have to say, for FTC regulations. If you click on this link, we're an affiliate, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. We make money if you buy stuff from Amazon after going through the affiliate, so there we go. I just decided, all right, screw it, because I'm not sponsored by them. The only pseudo-sponsorship that I have is through Aquarium Co-op. They don't carry that product, so I couldn't even put in, like, I couldn't even put in a request with, like, Corey to be like, hey, maybe could you get me an extra one? I could try it out. So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to order my own and see how this works out. We'll see how well it goes. The thing that really irritates me is that they don't have a 48-inch light, right? I think their biggest model is like, 90 centimeters is 36 inches, or close to there, right? 90 centimeters, 2 inches. Let's take a look. Let's take a gander here. Yeah, 35 and a half. And yeah, so it's basically 36. That seems to be their biggest light fixture. So I just said, well, I'm not going to buy the 36-inch one that is the wrong size. I do have a 24-inch tank that this would probably work pretty well on to at least do some testing and see how well it works. So I just went ahead and ordered a 24-inch one, which I will say is a fair bit of money, but I think it's worth it content-wise, especially for people in the U.S. that probably have had really no access to even trying out those lights or knowing anybody that really has used them at length. Texas Andy says I should check out Chichiros. I've definitely looked at those Chihiros or Chichiros. I say Chichiros because of Chichi Rodriguez. If you don't know who Chichi Rodriguez is, I would recommend you look him up. Chichi Rodriguez. Where is he? Rodriguez. This guy. Let me see if I can get a picture of him. Well, let's see. Probably one of the coolest, if there's such a thing as a cool golfer, I mean, we would have to be, we're going to have to be honest with ourselves on whether or not there is such a thing as a cool golfer. But let's just say, for argument's sake, there is a cool golfer. This is actually him. So let me pull up this media file here, and we'll pop this open. There he is. There he is. Historical golf photos. I don't know when this was taken. I've only known him to be old. So this was probably taken in like 1952 or 61 or something. Who knows? Let me see. It's a historicgolfphotos.com. Oh, 1967. Oh, the ripe young age of, let's see how old he was in 1967. Dang, doesn't say. Doesn't say how old he was. That's not useful. That's not useful. But either way, what a gloriously handsome, cool golfer, man. You know? Like, I don't know if there is such a thing as a cool golfer, but if you wanted to be a cool golfer, Chichi Rodriguez is the guy. That's the guy, I would say. Be that dude. My grandfather was actually a very avid golfer, and he used to golf with who's that guy? What was that? The Golden Bear? Is that his name? I think he was the Golden Bear. Yeah, Jack Nicklaus, right? Yeah, my grandpa used to golf with Jack Nicklaus. My grandpa was not a professional or anything like that. He was just an avid golfer, and he had all these connections from being fairly prominent in the Navy. So he had all those like Navy buddies, right? And ended up meeting Jack Nicklaus and used to golf with him. I don't know. I don't know honestly how often, but often enough that they like knew each other. You know what I mean? So either way, we're waiting on this light from Twinstar. I'm fairly excited. I'm a little apprehensive to spend that kind of money on a project that I think is just try it out kind of situation. Although George Farmer is sponsored by them, I believe, at this point. He kind of swears by him. So that really feels kind of like trustworthy. That's like, it's a good light. It should do what it's going to do. So at the very least, I might end up with something that I have to resell. Or just give away or something. I don't know. I don't know what I'll do with it, but, sounds like fun and like a fun project. So I'm a little bit excited about that. So that would kind of be my little fish news of the day. But like I mentioned, we're waiting on delivery. I think I can't figure out what carrier they utilized. I think it's like DHL or something. I'm not 100% sure. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. When it gets here, I'm probably going to do an unboxing, setting it up, first impression video, and then we'll have to, spend months and months and months trying to grow stuff under it, and we'll see what happens. But the Chichiros lights, I've heard some good things. I've definitely heard some good things about the. I've definitely heard some good things about the Chihiros, but I call them Chichiros because I'm an idiot. But the just the kind of availability and ability to order them is a little bit weird. I swear, every time I go to look up a Chihiros light, they have so many different models, and people are like, "Don't get this one, get that one, get the other one, get this one." And to be brutally honest with you, it's like, I don't know what to order out of those lights. So it becomes kind of difficult for me to be like, oh, I should waste a lot of valuable time in, researching what light it's got to be, and do I get the right one, and is it the right length, and is it the right strength, is it the waterproof, just ends up turning into this like weird project that I don't want to get involved in. Now, if Chihiros wanted to send me a bunch of lights to test and try them out, I would do that. I was 100% willing to do that. I did that with the Fluval lights. You guys know that I've kind of run the gamut under pretty much just about any plant under the Fluval 3.0 lights, and they work, man. They're just these little workhorse lights. They are kind of expensive also, but that's kind of the thing. Like, I'm not super hyper motivated to like do work for companies that don't want to pay for it. But I was just kind of, with the Twinstar lights, I was literally had piqued my interest. So when I was at Interzoo in Germany a couple of years ago, the Twinstar guys were like selling me on their lights quite a bit. And so I was kind of revisiting that a little bit and going like, and I really kind of just want to try out those lights and see what's going on. So I pretty much got to that point in consideration. Daryl Deemer with a $5 super chat. My guy. Thank you very much, Daryl. A longtime supporter. I know Daryl supports like so many FishTube people. It's pretty monumental. Speaking of support, let's update our YouTube members. It went up, it went down, it went up, it went down, went up, it went down, it went up, it went down. A lot of people coming and going. Has landed comfortably on 89, even though that's down. I don't know what to tell you guys. There's a freaking pandemic out here going on. So hopefully we'll get back to being over 100 again someday, but I don't know. I have no preconceived notion that we'll ever get over 100 again. But either way, UAD Mick says, I'm using all DIY LEDs. I'm 100% appreciative of people doing the like build my own LED, DIY LED stuff for sure. I think it's fantastic. I think if people are interested in doing that electrical, if they're interested in learning how to solder, wiring, voltage regulators, all that kind of stuff, I would recommend that. I would recommend that if that's something that you're interested in and something that you want to learn about and gain experience and expertise at doing. I am familiar with a lot of that stuff, and I just don't do it anymore because the amount of time for me personally, and it's not about you or anybody else, but the amount of time for me personally, it will chew up time that I'm doing other projects, trying to earn a living or hang out with my baby. And, so that's one of those things that's really kind of taken a back burner for me is like, I don't need to build my own stuff. I am building other things. I think I've kind of finalized my newest CO2 reactor build with kind of the parts list and that kind of stuff of how to do it for the average person. One of the getting some of the parts is a little bit difficult. So that's kind of the one thing is like finding a company that consistently sends out the correct size parts has been a little bit difficult with the clear PVC parts. That's the difficult part is making sure that a company that makes the clear PVC actually sells it in a Schedule 40 size that fits other fittings. You know what I'm saying? When you're doing this, I don't know why I'm clapping my hands together, but when you're doing things, you want them to fit in the hole. You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm doing this with my hands. I realize sometimes that I come across even to myself as like a strong idiot talking with my hands, but I do that never-endingly. Anyhow, finding that company that was able to kind of supply the correct actual parts that fit into the plumbing parts was ultimately the long bit of research, and then I built one, I built another one, I designed a different one, I made some changes. I built a bunch of them up at Aquarium Co-op. Those are all installed and running, and now we have those kind of time tested. I'm building some more up for Aquarium Co-op, so I'm building a bunch of stuff like that I think is of more value to me, because if I was to try and get, okay, let me kind of break this down a little bit. I'm not currently a certified electrician, but I can go easily head to head with any certified electrician out there. I am not currently a certified plumber, but I can go head to head with any certified plumber out there. I would just have to go get my cert, I'm not licensed or bonded right now to be doing any of that, but I know how to do that kind of stuff. Doing electrical stuff that is small, soldering little LEDs and stuff like that is time consuming for me to do. And because of capitalism, one of the attributes of capitalism is that low-wage people in third world countries, second world countries, and countries developing into first world countries are currently doing all of that small work, or a machine is doing it. So it's one or the other. So the cost differential becomes not advantageous for me to be soldering little tiny electrodes together and stuff when there's either a machine or somebody that honestly is way underpaid and underappreciated for what they do. But that's the nature of the world right now. And when it comes to plumbing, there is no company that is making intricate, crazy plumbing things for aquaponics, hydroponics, and aquarium CO2 injection and stuff like that. There are some that are doing it, but they're not doing it to the volume that I need. So that's one of the reasons that I make those CO2 reactors, is that there are some companies that make CO2 reactors. They're always, in my opinion, way undersized. So they're almost always too small. They're almost always built out of kind of economy parts, I guess is the nice way to say it, but cheap parts is basically the way to put it. And they don't function necessarily the way that I want them to. So they're, when you kind of combine all of that, that's why I kind of focus on building the plumbing stuff. And, I'm kind of trying to teach people how to do that plumbing stuff more and more on the channel, just so that I can get better at instructing people how to do it. So that's just sort of where I'm at mentally. And also, I don't think people are going to encounter a catastrophic failure if they have a leaky pipe somewhere, versus if they were to encounter a catastrophic failure with electrical. You could have a fire, somebody could get burnt, somebody could get electrocuted, which, but, like if you're in the UK, everything's on 220 out there and converting down from 220, which can definitely hurt people. Speaking of the UK, MD Fish Tanks is here. He says he's got 2 of the Chichi Rodriguez CI2 here at the moment. Not actually used them yet, but seem nice so far design-wise. Yeah, so I don't even know that I have seen those ones. Dylan says, I just got some cheap Chichi-Roast lights, and I absolutely love them. They're new 3-in-1 LEDs, RGB A601 Plus. Yeah, see, that's where, dude, like, I don't, let me look, even see if I can look this up. Let's go, oops, what happened here? Copy. So I don't accidentally open up the wrong window. Let's go like that. Let's look this up. Let's see if we can actually find one. RGB Chichi, oh my God, I actually looked it up. Let's see what we got here. What is this? Shrimpoli.com. All right, here's Amazon. Let's go over to Amazon. We're an Amazon affiliate, so why not? Okay, so let's see what we got here. Chichiros RGB A series LED light with built-in Bluetooth app module for timing and dimming function. Okay, that seems to have some of the options. This one is $150. It's 69 watts. The Chichiros RGB series LED light is discontinued and is now replaced with the RGB A plus. So this is the RGB A, but we need to find the RGB. See, this is where I get frustrated. You know what I'm saying? They literally still have them posted on Amazon, and then down here in the description it says this light is discontinued. Go look up the other light. Which I don't know, man. If you've discontinued a light, like, take it down. If that's the deal, I don't know. I don't know, man. That just pisses me off. Personal affront. Personally, it pisses me off. It's not really about anybody else, but it seems pretty stupid to me that, like, you would have discontinued a product, but you're still selling the other ones, and then just in the liner notes down here be like, yeah, go somewhere, go find the other light. Yeah, and the A plus series isn't even on Amazon, so that you can't find it on Amazon, but on the Amazon listing, A plus. So we need the A plus, right? Plus. And then we can't write plus. It needs to be A plus, right? So it's the Chihiros LED RGB A plus A601 plus. Like, y'all, that's pissing me off, dude. Like, that's honestly frustrating, being somebody who's like, well, I would maybe like to buy one of your lights, but what website is this? Sun Pets and Aquariums? But this isn't even an American website. I don't know, it's a website somewhere out of the U.S. I don't know where that is. I don't know. See, that's why I get frustrated with these companies. It's like, dude, we don't work there, Like, I don't work at that company. I don't know what the hell is going on there, Stop selling the crappy stuff that you've discontinued. And by the way, it's not my fault they're selling the crap that they discontinued. That's not my deal. That's their deal. I'm allowed to be a little bit pissed off at it. You know what I mean? PecTech says, I just popped in to say hello. I went back to work today after 4 to 5 months, so I have been listening and reading email. Oh, man. After 4 to 5 months of email, I would just, there's a likelihood that I might just click select all, select all delete. Now, I kid. I wouldn't actually do that, but maybe why not? You know, maybe just get past that stuff and move on to the new stuff. Who knows? Let's see. Dylan Renke says, it's much easier if you look at Chichiro's website and find what lights you like, then go for where to purchase. I got lucky at a local store. It was really helpful. That's cool. I'm not going to a local store. I'm not going to a local store for a fish light. I'm 100% not doing that. I'm 100% not doing that in the days of the coronavirus, just to go like drive around to a bunch of stores to hopefully find if one's there. And by the way, I am of the opinion that like if you're a company in 2020 that is selling products and you can't get your website together, like I don't know, I'm not buying something from you. I'm sorry. Just generally speaking, and it's a very generalized statement to make, but like it's the year 2020. If you can't figure out how to get your website onto like Squarespace or something like that, like I probably don't want to buy your product. You know, like that's maybe that's me just being a jerk or something like that, but like I probably don't want to buy somebody's product if they can't figure out how to get it up onto a website. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Dylan says, are you going to get a dimmer for the Twin Star light? I really don't like that they don't have a built-in timer function. Well, probably. Light timers aren't that big of a deal with the Bluetooth, not the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi plug timers that they have now. Which ones do I have? So let's go. We can go through my history here. Wi-Fi outlet. What is it? There it is. Casa. Casa is the one. The Casa Smart Plug. Most people wouldn't want the in-wall ones. I happen to like the in-wall ones, but I don't think most people would be able to handle that. So let's get a link for these ones. I've used these ones at, I think, even at Aquarium Co-op, I think we put like 30 of these in there, and they all work fine. So if you're looking for a timer that is way easier to deal with, there you go. Those are fine. But I have so many light timers and Wi-Fi plugs and all that kind of stuff that timers, it's not that big of a deal. You know, I do appreciate that. I do appreciate the Fluval app is fantastic. I love using it. But also at the same time, I don't want to be, super one-dimensional with what it is that I'm reviewing or being able to check out or that kind of stuff. I mean, that's a reality of just being in any kind of business. You'd like to have a better working knowledge of all of the available products that are out there. But I have a very limited budget on what I can do, on what I can try out and what I can't try out. I have to wait each month before I be able to move on. So that's just a reality, right? Like it's a reality that everybody has a working budget. I have a working budget. I can't go over it. I can't exceed it just because I want to spend money or whatever, or credit, it's not a good idea. So I have to pick and choose where I'm at. And, people would say like, well, why aren't you trying out more fertilizers? Because fertilizer's fertilizer, man. Like I use Easy Green because it's comprehensive fertilizer. It's like no one is inventing new nitrogen. You know what I mean? Like no one's inventing new potassium. Like all those elements are going to exist. And to be brutally honest with you guys, if with the right water parameters, CO2, easy green, and good light, you should be able to grow anything. You know, that you should be able to grow any plant out there. It really, you know, you might have to do some tweaking. You might have to buffer the water. You might have to strip the water. You know, you have to make some changes, temperatures and pH and all that kind of stuff. But if you have those basic elements figured out, you're probably going to be fine. You know, so I figured, hey, why don't I get another light that I can try out, and you know, if it sucks, I'll let you guys know. But we'll see how it goes. Fish Tank Barn with a $5 super chat says, "Happy Friday. Just got done unboxing some new rainbow fish that came in. That is exciting. It's slowly but surely getting back into my brain that there are some rainbow fish I probably want to do at some point. I'm not going to say what kind they are because I don't want to create a run on them or anything like that. But right now I am hatching and raising some killifish that I imported their eggs. So I'm doing that right now, but I probably, there's a couple types of rainbow fish that I might want to get, but it's always great to hear that Mike from the Fish Tank Barn is getting in new fish, because that's always fantastic. It's always fantastic. Dylan Renke says, could you talk a little bit about shrimp foods? Sure. Basic 3 brands that will make it very easy for you to deal with. Shrimp King, Repashy, and Shirakura. I don't have any links for Repashy or Shrimp King, but Shirakura I do. Shirakura has been one of my mainstays for, God, I want to say 10 years. I want to say 10 years, and I might be overshooting that. It might be 8 years, it might be 7 years, it might be 9 years, but I want to say 10 years. I feel like I was introduced to Shirakura like in 2010, I think. Like I said, I'm going to have to like go back and look around and figure out, and I might be a little bit off by that because some of my timelines are a little bit bizarro in my head, but feels right. Feels like right around that time. Shirakura has been, I have raised so many shrimp with this shrimp food. They make a couple different kinds. They have always been consistent. I've never seen any kind of water wackadoo fluctuations or anything like that from using Shirakura. I have always seen good breeding when I was properly feeding and taking care of the water and all that kind of stuff. It is the one shrimp food I can 100% recommend no matter what. But Shrimp King is also really good. Repashy is also really good, and you really can't go wrong with those. Shrimp food is fairly basic. I do have some Dr. Shrimp Healthy, which I actually got this from the actual doctor in Germany who makes this food. Pretty good food. Don't know if I have the facility to verify whether or not it works as well as the claims and that kind of stuff. Whereas Shirakura I have used for years and years and years, and I know that it works. And I've never seen any kind of weird reaction from feeding that shrimp food. So I would expect probably pretty positive results, you know. Oh yeah, who was first to the chat? Michael Sarr was first to the chat today. The Zombie Drummer was number 2. Big D Smoke was number 3. Okay, I missed that earlier, and I don't want to miss that. And I just realized, like, we've been on here for 45 minutes, so it's time for another commercial. Go over to our Patreon and help us fund doing more fish projects, or not. Oh, somebody canceled. Somebody canceled their Patreon during the show. I don't know who. I'll have to go check. We were at 2:30. Now we're at 2:29. Oops. Pissed off somebody. Sorry. Oh, that's too many twos. There we go. We were at 2:30. Somebody left. I don't know who it was, though. Maybe I do know who it was. I'm not going to say. I would never tell. I'll never tell. As a matter of fact, I do know who it was. But either way, go check out our Patreon. We normally do the Patreon posts on Friday. Nobody posted the Patreon this week, probably because it's August. There's a pandemic going on, and everybody being stressed out. You know, everybody out there just being stressed out, being on a pandemic. So I'm guessing that's why. And the little bit of time that people have now, because it's August, the weather's nice, they're probably going outside and getting that done. On a personal note, Vicky and I have we have hit our workout target. Let's see, trends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row, and that is a pretty good hot streak to be on. Weather's nice. It's not very hard to hit your workout target when the weather's this nice. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to like work out in the garage or just throw up weight. Whereas I could go run around out on the Earth planet and see the birds and the flowers and stuff. I like that so much better. Says John McKenzie, that's dope. I just rigged up some power heads to a solar panel. I took old feeder to my backyard. Super convenient. And then the other part of the commercial is YouTube members. You want to become a member? Seems like 89 is our glass ceiling of YouTube members. So that's where we're at. I don't know. But that's the life. We out here living the dream and just out here in a pandemic trying to stay healthy, you know. Janice Lundberg says, I always forget to post on Patreon. Yep. So John McKenzie had posted something. I'm working on running my tanks off-grid with solar. I remember you talking about trying that. Yeah, actually, we have the whole system designed. A friend of mine is a electrical engineer. I think he has a master's degree in electrical engineering, I think. Something like that. I don't know. He's a wizard man. Helped design it and stress tested it with a company that he works for. So I believe it's 4 deep cell marine batteries. I can't remember the cell, the solar cell off the top of my head that we were going to use. He knows it, so I'm not that worried about it. And then, the inverter, all pretty basic stuff. Really nothing too crazy about it. It seems like it will run everything. And as I mentioned, he stress tested it up at his work. He just, used a bunch of the stuff and tried it out to see if it would work, and works just fine as far as I know. And yeah, so that's definitely a thing. I could hypothetically put something together at some point. We're going to be digging the post holes for the greenhouse very, very, very soon. I got most of the drawings done for building the greenhouse. I went through the spousal approval process of, if you guys know, Vicky Toria is my spouse. I love her 100,000 million, and we also sometimes argue about whether or not we're going to put something in a certain spot, and we have met in the middle ground, and it's going to work out. So it seems like the drawings fit, It's just a matter of scheduling out the time and materials and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. So it will happen at some point. Pandemic definitely throws a big loop in stuff, along with my own personal health this year. As a side note, on my personal health, I have been having slight reoccurrences of the issue that I have, but nothing like before, and my doctors think that that's just all part of the recovery process and just keep doing what I'm doing, and it should be working out fine. I cannot wait for being back to being a no phlegm situation for like a month. That would be cool. I do have days without it now. But things are definitely headed in the right direction. I do still have a little bit of some issues with that, but other than, everything's kind of innocuous. It's more of just a pain in the butt than any kind of real issue. So that stuff's all going good. And but yeah, it's just been a really weird year, with no travel, pandemic, budgets dropping, all sorts of crazy stuff going on in the world. So that's why we didn't get to the greenhouse yet, but we've definitely been doing a lot of work on our garden. And I'll be honest with you guys, I think if our funding situation stayed, if there wasn't like a pandemic this year and things just stayed the way that they were, I honestly think we probably would have made a bunch of garden videos this year. But I'm not trying to use the pandemic as an excuse, because it almost feels like I'd be saying that kind of stuff like it's an excuse, but it's a real reality. Olivia's daycare was closed for 3 months, I think. Yeah. Olivia's daycare was closed for 3 months. She is home today, so we're counting on Vicky right now not being able to work because I'm here doing a live stream, and which I will admit, I don't know why my hair's like sticking out on the side over here. I just noticed that in the monitor. But I'll admit it's great to be able to be on here, talk about stuff. I love being able to do live streams. I would like to do them every day. There's no way I could commit to doing that again. I used to do them. I used to do them every day. I don't know if anybody's been around long enough for that, but I used to do a live stream like every day, to just kind of see if it was worthwhile, something that I wanted to do or whatever. I had much different plans then than I do now for what's going on, but it's also kind of like, it's also existing within the marketplace of, can you be able to get whatever it is that you make out there. Janice Lundberg going wild on the super chat button. And my chat window is doing all sorts of weird stuff. What's going on here? I used to count down up there, but it doesn't do that anymore. A $50 super chat, man, that is crazy. Thank you very much. 100, bottom of my heart, appreciate it. At least makes the time that I'll be here paid for. So very much appreciate it. So I hope this helps out with decreased memberships and Patreon. Thanks always. Thank you very much. I 100% appreciate it, Janice. Being a member is plenty. Honestly, I know it's only like $5 a month to be a member, but like, I don't know. Let me look. Let me look at our subscriber count. Let's go over here to the dashboard. Oh, it went down. I remember it being higher than that earlier. It's like if I live stream, people come on and they're like, "Oh, this guy sucks. I hate him. We're unsubscribe." But 27,200 subscribers, and that's the reality. Is that like, I 100% appreciate a $50 super chat, but I also don't want people to feel like that's what you have to do in order to be a part of the community. I mean, if we had 27,000 people doing $1 a month, that would be 10 times the amount of total income I make, right? So, when people are at like $5 a month, I'm like, that's awesome. Let's rock and roll and let's just keep going. And I feel like that makes sense, like it's an amount that like makes sense as far as I'm concerned with how much work I put in to just hopefully like making stuff or whatever. But it also is, it's also difficult for a lot of people out there right now. So, but thank you very much. JH Aquatics says gardening is great. Amber and I have been eating every day from our garden. Good stuff. Yeah, we're eating from our garden this morning, yesterday, the day before. It doesn't necessarily do very much for the bills, but it also keeps our gardening system running and stuff, that if there is a pandemic, which, by the way, I would remind people that one of the supply chain concerns, if you were to ask me what you should be investing in, as this was one of the kind of questions that was on Discord that popped up when I was like, I wonder what I should talk about during the show today. Let me check what all the peeps up on the Discord are talking about. And I had noticed that Alyssa had posted about some investment stuff, which I'm not going to answer investment questions. I am not your financial advisor. I'm not anybody's financial advisor. As a friend, I will help Alyssa in the Discord at some point with some of the ideas that I have that might be a good investment as far as like the stocks and stuff. But that triggered my thought process of like, oh man, you know what I could share about on the show is what I think people should be doing for preparation if the pandemic continues to get out of control and something happens with the supply chain. How would people be prepared for that? Now, the Fed, if we were to say the Fed, the Fed that controls the money and stuff, they are strategizing a new plan. Their new plan is to push inflation, which has not been their plan for quite a long time. They've pushed interest rates as low as they possibly could so that people could continue to borrow money, which arguably could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, blah, blah, blah. There's two sides of the economic coin that people could be arguing. But if they're going to continue to push inflation, there's a possibility that some of the supply chain stuff is going to get disrupted. And as we know, food, water, shelter, those are the three things that you really need to focus on. And those are the three things that you should be focused on, in my opinion, as anybody in the world, is having water, having food, and having shelter. Those are, in my opinion, the three things that people should be investing in. Water, pretty simple. Even if you go to Amazon, where's Amazon at? Where's my damn Amazon thing? Let's say if we look up... So we want iodine tablets with vitamin C. Vitamin C. So for water purifying, this is probably... Oh, crap. It brought me up the wrong thing. Hold on. Water purification. There we go. Here we go. So this is probably the best advice I can give people from having spent a lot of time in the wilderness, being around, having to create drinkable water that is sort of like, it's not mechanical. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to heat anything. You don't have to assume that your pump still works, any of that kind of stuff. You want iodine tablets, then you add vitamin C 2 hours later. It takes away the crappy iodine flavor and potentially gives you some vitamin C, which is fine. You really can't have too much vitamin C. That is the best way These are easy to store. You could order like 5 sets of these, and you'd be able to, I forget how many gallons of water. 50 tablets. Yeah, it's like 50 tablets are in there, but makes contaminated water bacteriologically suitable to drink within 35 minutes. Okay, so 35 minutes, that's pretty good. Seem to have sped that up. I've always put it in there for 2 hours. May or may not be a good deal. May or may not be a bad deal. I don't know. Yeah, some of the older ones are 4 hours. Yeah, I guess they've sped it up, 35 minutes. Treats up to 25 quarts per tablet. Okay. So 25 times 50, whatever the hell that is, it's an astounding amount of water. So for $10, if you bought a couple of these, stored them at accessible locations that you could find them, you will be able to clean water so you don't get rapid, intense, mind and earth-shattering diarrhea and whatnot. That's going to be your best bet, in my opinion. Not necessarily invented by me or anything like that. That's for sure. The hell? Ooh. Haha. Somebody trying to get at me. Oops. Hold on. Oops. Get out of here. All right. There we go. Somebody sent a bunch of packets to my email, which is fun. Where did I go here? All right. What? Oop, that's the wrong video editor. There we go. So that would be my best bet as far as supply chain issues. We are all storing water. We are all fish keepers. We all have a bunch of water, right? We can't go drinking the water out of our fish tanks. You're going to get rapid, earth-shattering, sweaty diarrhea, and you'll probably just dehydrate and die from drinking your fish tank water. But a couple of iodine tablets, a couple of vitamin C tablets after, and there you go. JH Aquatic says we've been eating a lot of rice and veggies, a lot healthier and cheaper than mac and cheese. Yeah, I eat rice and veggies pretty much every day. That's pretty much my food. Though I've been making these little ham breakfast sandwiches. They're the bomb. We've got a bunch of ham from a friend of ours, and so we've been using it up. So that would be the water situation. Now, the other side is you want freeze-dried food. You don't want dehydrated food. From my personal standpoint, not only for nutrition, but storage. And it's just way easier to deal with freeze-dried food versus dehydrated food. Dehydrated food's going to take a ton of time to reconstitute it, to make it edible. Like, you can eat it dry. I wouldn't recommend it. You're just going to have like a chewy ball of stuff in your mouth. It kind of sucks. But freeze-dried food, you can actually just kind of eat it like you were eating some chips or popcorn or something. Like, obviously you're not shoveling it in your mouth like a maniac, but you can eat it. You can eat freeze-dried food and just crunch on it and stuff. Give it a whole crunch and munch. Sorry, I was sitting on my foot and it fell asleep. But that's going to be the two things that I would recommend to invest in. I have multiple food stores, stores. What do you call that? Food stashes? There we go. Let's call them stashes. That makes more sense. And it gives us an opportunity to think about mustaches for just a second, which, have you thought about mustaches today? You probably should. Probably should just take a second, think about glorious mustaches. Why not? But we have multiple food stashes, 3 different locations. Each location has about 6 months worth of freeze-dried food. So that's kind of where I've invested my energy and the time and that kind of stuff. As far as like preparation for those things is food and shelter and water. You know, those are the 3 things that are going to be the biggest concern for any human on any plot of land anywhere on this planet. And so that's honestly where I've put some of my energy, and that has sort of been handled. But also, I'm just going to continue to work on those things so that we're more prepared for that stuff. So the gardening here is a part of, our subsistence. That's what we eat. Today we got some pickling cucumbers. We got some slicing cucumbers. We got 2 cabbages. We got some. I can't remember what are those squash called? They're like bright orange softballs. They're pretty good, and so we got some of those. Snap peas, green beans, raspberries, blackberries, lots of herbs. So we have like sage and basil and dill and rosemary and thyme. I have some coffee trees. They're tiny, and they're not necessarily doing out of this world fantastically, but you know how it goes. You know how it goes. I just I got them on a whim. Wanted to try them out, but they're doing okay. I can't be mad. They're just tiny. They will never. They will never likely bear me any coffee. It would take a long time for them to grow big enough. But yeah, we got blueberries, we got apples, and we have a bunch of stuff that we got going. So that's going pretty well. And I can't really claim that we'd be able to live only off of our property here, but with like 600 pounds of rice stored, the chickens, the garden, and that kind of stuff, we would at least be able to survive for quite a while. I mean, it wouldn't be like the happiest thing in the world, but we'd be all right. At KG Cichlids, I grew up perpetually dehydrated because we only had softened water inside, and I wasn't allowed to drink from the hose. I have no idea how to wrap my mind around that comment. Can you put membership link, please? Oh, yeah. What is the membership link? I don't even know. Let me see. I don't know. Somebody can find it. Somebody can copy and paste it. How many eggs can you collect a day or a week? Well, it depends on how many chickens you have, and also the breed of chickens that you have. So some chickens will drop an egg a day. Some will drop one every 3 days. It just really depends. The volume of chickens you have, the type of chickens you have, how well you're feeding them. If you aren't feeding your chickens very well, they can't produce eggs very well. So if you're not taking care of them, they won't do a good job for you. But personally, with our chickens, we pull about 18 eggs a week right now. Which, to be honest with you, if you eat a couple of eggs a day, you have enough. And you definitely have enough to make whatever egg-based stuff you wanted to make. If you wanted to make pasta, you've got enough eggs. We always have enough eggs. And we are going to retire some of our chickens, I think, after this season. So chickens are like a human woman in the way that they have as many eggs as they are going to have when they're born. They have all those little cells that are going to make an egg. An egg is menstruation for chickens. It's like a chicken having its period. They're only going to have a finite amount of eggs. Once they go menopause, there just is no more. There's no more egg production. All those little embryos exist when they're born. Then one by one, they get made into an egg. And if there's no rooster around, you're not eating something that would ever turn into a chicken. So to those out there that are like, well, I don't eat eggs because I'm vegan or whatever, I guess it's a part of like, rationalizing and understanding. I was vegan for probably about 5 years just for health reasons. I was, into a lot more fitness than I am now. just because of some of a lot of the stuff I was doing, at the time. And so it was more, personal health and whether or not it was possible. All that kind of stuff came into my decision making behind it. And, it's definitely something that's possible. I just don't think it is plausible realistically, because you have to eat so much processed food as an average person. I think if somebody, if you're making like $200,000 a year, yes, I think most people could be vegan. If you're somebody that works at a job and you're making, $42,000 a year, it's going to be difficult to bear the burden of that food cost realistically, with trying to supplant proteins and stuff like that without hyper processed food, which is kind of the whole point of being a vegan or not, right? Is to not be eating a bunch of processed food. It really is, in my opinion, kind of the whole reason to make a dramatic food change like that is for health, and that was the biggest thing that I ran into is like, man, I'm eating a lot of processed food in comparison to where I wanted to be at, right? So I think it was, I think if we realistically broke it down, I think about 30% of the food I was eating was a processed food of some sort, whether it be like some fake vegan cheese or whatever, like eating abnormal amount of seitan, right? And so that was kind of one of my big mitigating changes is that, like, if I was to introduce something like eggs into my diet, I could cut out a ton of that processed food. Now I wouldn't be vegan anymore, so you wouldn't have that moniker to be able to walk around with if that was what you were interested in. Now, I personally, I don't care what other people think of me. I do like to get feedback if people are like actually in the realm of having an opposed ideal or whatnot, right? Like if somebody said, "No, I think a 25% tax bracket for everybody is the way that it should work, and it shouldn't be a sliding scale, blah blah blah." Like in the world of ideals and stuff, you'd be like, "Oh, well, let's have a conversation about why you think that is. Let's have a back and forth rapport." I love hearing about that kind of stuff. Now, the people that are just like, "I don't like you, you're a douche." Like, all right, man, whatever, dude. I don't care. So the reality is, like, I didn't care if the vegan community was going to ostracize me or something. Whatever, dude. I don't. Oh, drag. Those people don't like me because I eat eggs now. Not that big of a deal. And especially when you get down to it, is that like all of the eggs that I eat are made here on the property that the chickens I take care of. So, well, Vicky also. I'm not going to claim that I do all of the work. She does half. 60%. She does 60%. I do 40. How about that? But so that's that's kind of like where I was at the time of transitioning from vegan and getting out of that and moving on to eating meat and stuff again, was like, well, what can I do to, actualize not eating processed food? That is the biggest goal that I think anybody should have in the year 2020, is be like, I don't eat any processed food. Now, where do you draw the line there? It's a little bit difficult to figure out exactly what you would consider processed food, but I think it's very obvious when you go, well, there's 600% of the amount of sugar and salt in my diet that I should be having. Then you got to start figuring out the items to eliminate that stuff. I think is the best advice I could give to anybody, is like, if you eat for breakfast 4-ounce portion of steak, a half of a potato, 2 eggs, and an avocado, right? Like no one would be like, man, you're just eating this disgusting, unhealthy breakfast. But if you go eat a steak and avocado burrito wrap or whatever from some Jack in the Box or some freaking drive-through, you're basically looking at the same ingredients, but they're just so doctored to the point where that it's killing you. That's kind of how I'm able to kind of work through that in my head of like, I don't want to eat processed food. I don't want to have anything to do with that situation. I try to eat as much whole foods as possible. We order our dairy from specific, we get our dairy from specific, it's a delivery farm. The farm does a delivery. It's a local farm kind of deal and that kind of stuff. So, that's my thought process is like, I just don't want to have anything to do with this disgusting processed food. I know behind the scenes what people are doing with that processed food, and it's not food, and it's also contributed to more detriment than just, heart disease, obesity, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on of diabetes, all that kind of stuff. It's contributed to that, but it has also contributed societally to the point where I believe it was, what was it? Ted Cruz the other day came out and was like, waitresses and waiters and the people that work in restaurants don't deserve unemployment. And somehow that commentary was applauded by whatever, like, sociopaths that decide that that's like a legitimate thing to say, which it isn't. It's led to that. It's led to people in that thought process that someone that works at Jack in the Box is a useless human or whatever, and they don't deserve to earn a living wage, even though they're working 40 hours a week, having responsibility of preparing food that people put inside their body. Like that's not a useful thing for them to do, which I don't know what kind of maniac you have to be to think that people that are preparing food that you are going to put inside your body, you're going to take it into your body and not get sick, get the right food, have it be prepared properly, all that kind of stuff, is somebody that doesn't deserve to earn enough money to pay their rent and their bills, right? Like that processed food has contributed to that kind of thought process in the United States, and it makes no sense to me. And I will tell you that like 10 years ago, I was talking to people that were like, well, I've been to Europe and it's totally different there. And, people that are a bartender, people that are a waiter, people that work at hotels, people that work whatever job are able to pay their bills. And the reality is that those jobs are treated like a job. Somebody is going to go do a thing for a portion of their life, whether it be the 40 hours a week or whatever, is the finite amount of lifetime that they are able to contribute to doing a job for somebody else in exchange for money, right? It's a pretty simple, basic explanation, but you go to Europe, the waiter that works at the restaurant makes a wage that he's able to have his kids or her kids or whatever, their family, and be able to pay their bills and keep their apartment or house or whatever the hell it is, wherever they live. I don't know. This is an imaginary person, but you go there, that's a job because they at the very least respect the fact that this is a job like any other job, and you're going to invest your time that you're not going to be able to get that time back. And I just am personally, from a personal standpoint, the years and years that I spent working in food production, running restaurants, all of the relationships that I have garnered, all of the business experience that I garnered, the interactions with food suppliers, with food growers, with the people that pick it, the butchers that butcher it, and the processing plants that process the hyper-processed food, you start to realize, like, the whole entire way up the chain is just realistically abuse to the worker because they're considered untrained, unskilled, unimportant. And that kind of stuff, like, it really gets to me. It really does. As Kay Halliday says, the fewer the ingredients listed on a product, the better. Yep. If, and we need to definitely, I know in the United States, we need to make some changes. And when it gets to the point where a United States senator publicly says that waiters and waitresses don't deserve unemployment, we've reached a point where people in power are willing to say that kind of crap. It is disheartening, but I sure as hell am not going to sell myself down the river or sell my values down the river in hopes that I don't irritate somebody from whatever group of insanity they've decided to join up with. And, I would never really, like, claim to be somebody else other than I am, and I think that's somehow I got all the way down this train of thought. But I think it's really important that we have the tools now to be able to inspect this, to learn and research about the things that are going on. It was Ted Cruz, from my understanding. July 26th. Oops. Oh, we can't play the video. I'll get in trouble. Yeah, I believe it was on July 26th. On Sunday, Ted Cruz on Sunday blasts waiters and waitresses, says they don't deserve an extra $600 a week for being unemployed, and then followed up with that they don't deserve unemployment, that workers are lazy. Yeah. Ted Cruz remains one of the worst people ever. Sorry. Not my words. I'm reading an article, but I pretty much agree with that. The Republican senator from Texas says Democrats are shoveling cash at workers who are unemployed due to the pandemic, and he also thinks restaurant workers who don't want to go back to work are lazy instead of, scared they'll contract COVID-19 on the job and die. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're talking about, you want waiters and waitresses to go back to work, right? Oh, it's Nature Man. I gave It's Nature Man a shout out early in the show, but he just showed up. Shout out again. Thanks for your increased patronage on Patreon. Thanks, my guy. And but when we're at the point where it's just like, you're talking about waiters and waitresses that don't necessarily want to go back to a job, that they're not going to earn a wage, right? You have to remember that these are people that earn minimum wage, and they count on customers to come in for their tips in the United States for them to earn enough money. So they're going to go out and have point of contact with a bunch of strangers. It's not going to be busy enough for them to make enough tips, right, to actually pay their bills. but they're going to go to a job that they run the risk of getting sick with a novel virus, right? And they don't want to go back to work, but our elected representatives are willing to just go out and say that kind of stuff about how they're lazy, they're not worth unemployment, this and that. And it's disgusting and it's reprehensible. And I don't understand how we've reached a point in this country where you're like, okay, whatever, it's fine. Daniel Velez says, there's something wrong when the minimum wage for restaurant workers is $2.13 an hour. Yep, for tipped employees in certain states. In Washington State, where I live, they still have to make the minimum wage, whatever the minimum wage is in the area, which in Washington, every I was going to say county, but it's not county, but city limits and stuff like that, you can set your own minimum wage. So like in Seattle, minimum wage, I believe, is $15 an hour, I think now, which $15 an hour in Seattle is not enough for you to live and work in Seattle. You'd have to live outside of Seattle and commute there to go work. So, oh, yeah, the post office. I wanted to talk about the post office, and then we started talking about restaurant workers and food and stuff. But either way, we'll talk about the post office here in just a minute. Kay Halliday says, I heard on the radio headlines the other day that the top earners and CEOs have not seen any change in their income. Don't know the exact figures. I don't have exact figures either, but I've definitely heard a lot of those reports myself. I've definitely heard and seen a lot of those reports that top earners are either earning more money, like the Kodak cameras, remember the Kodak Polaroid cameras? They got a $765 million, it's basically a loan that they don't have to repay in order to make hydroxychloroquine. And their CEO received 1.5 million shares of stock like a day or two before the announcement went out. And I believe their stock went up by 2,900%, like 2,900% increase, which I believe put those 1.5 million shares at like $58 million or something in value. So kind of weird. Well, I guess we're monetized for today because of Janice. I was about to say an F-bomb, but I'm not going to. But some screwball stuff going on, which is most likely illegal, with even just that whole interaction. And I do know that Elizabeth Warren petitioned to investigate, and we'll see what happens, even though these guys won't investigate really much of anything. They spent all of Thursday screwing around and appointing people in the military. But what we were going to talk about the post office, and I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about the post office. I had recently posted onto Facebook that the new appointee to the post office is, at the very least, suspect as all get out. He's trying to hamstring the post office into not being able to handle the elections on purpose. He's basically trying to hamstring the post office into people thinking that it is not a worthwhile thing to maintain. And I notice so many people are confused about what the post office is, right? They think there's an astounding amount of people in the United States, for some reason, think that the post office is a business, which it is not. And they keep saying that the post office loses so much money. These weird talking points that I hear about. The post office is not supposed to make money. It is not a business. It operates and does a service, and we do have to pay for those services when we want things to be mailed, right? The shipping rates are like 20%, if not lower than that, of what private companies cost. And I would include that private companies like UPS, like FedEx, like I don't know the other ones. There are other ones are weird named, but let's say those two, they utilize the infrastructure of the United States Postal Service, which means their packages will at some point in time, or mail at some point in time, be carried by the United States Postal Service. They're also not required to go to every single address like the United States Postal Service is. It is illegal for them to not service an address in the United States. But in 2006, we had a lot of weird things going on in 2006. We were a couple years out from the World Trade Towers being bombed by airplanes, which is a whole weird thing in its own right. But in 2006, the Republican-led Congress passed a law forcing the United States Postal Service to prepay its pensions for 75 years. Okay? So every single pension for every single of the 680,000 people that work for the United States Postal Service, we're talking about 680,000 jobs, right? 75 years need to be prepaid of the pensions that the Postal Service, they need to be prepaid 75 years for every single worker there, which totals, at the time, $110 billion, which is much more than that now. They've been having to make payments on that, and that is why the United States Postal Service is operating at a deficit. Now, to those people out there that go, well, why would this group of legislators want to force the United States Postal Service to do this? Now, first of all, private interests in lobbyists that are paying them to do that. The fact that the United States Postal Service is one of the last remaining large groups of Americans that were going to get pensions. If you guys recall, through the 80s and 90s, pensions were switched into 401k investment strategies because it tied the worker to the stock market, and it saved the corporation insane amounts of money. We're talking billions and billions and billions and billions, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that all of these corporations no longer had to pay people's pensions when they retired. They said, oh, don't worry, we'll all just contribute to your 401k while you're working, and then you'll have money when you retire. I don't want to get into semantics about whether or not that is a conspiracy, because the semantics mean nothing to me, because it is a clear and present conspiracy for corporations paid our government in order to promote this idea that pensions were a bad idea, and then pass the legislation to allow companies to convert to a 401k from a pension system, right? The United States Postal Service hasn't had enough unions, right, that they were able to oppose transition from a pension to the 401k. The unions were strong enough that they said, hell no, we're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. And I'm paraphrasing. But what ends up happening, by 2006, there's enough corporate interest and stuff for them to get rid of these pensions from this group of 600, 700,000 workers from the United States Postal Service. How could they possibly pass a piece of legislation to get them to get rid of the pension, right? Well, we'll force them through legislation to prepay these pensions for 75 years, they'll have to do something else. Oh, I bet you the Postal Service will just convert and they'll just start doing the 401ks like everyone else. Now, I have to admit, and I have to salute the fact that they did not kowtow. They did not say, okay, we'll just convert all this stuff. The people, the unions, the people that withstood this for as long as they have, to not allow the corporations to set the rules for the United States Postal Service. They've been holding out for 14 years. They've been making all these crazy payments, which, by the way, the payments that they pre-fund have been, that's a whole different story. Oregon. Hold on a second. I got to look up I can't remember what it is. It's like, funding bill. It's like 2.8. It's like Congressman Peter DeFiso. There it is. That's the guy. So a guy out of Oregon passed in February a piece of legislation. Where did it go? So HR 630. Is this the right one? It might be HR 630. No, I think they renumbered it. I'm going to copy that because this might have been from a different year. But they passed just this year in February, HR 2382. Here we go. And I'm going to pass the link on to you guys. So it has passed the House, okay? This has passed. It has passed the House. It passed the House it was introduced February 5th. Sorry. It was introduced in April 29th, 2019. So it was literally introduced in 2019. It was passed in 2020 on February 5th. The latest action, it has moved to the Senate February 10th, okay? If February 10th, this went from the House to the Senate. 6 months ago, for oversight and reform, whether the United States Postal Service can roll back the 75 years that they're supposed to pre-fund these pensions, and basically lower the amount of years that they're supposed to be doing. And you can there's the link right there. You can go read the bill. If there's something that you don't like in it, I would love to hear from somebody. And I can run through the summary if need be. Go to the summary. Oh, here we go. Text. So I can actually go look at the text of it. It will take me a little bit. It would take me a little while to read through it again, but I can't remember exactly how many years, and I don't want to speak wrong. But this was moved to the Senate February 10th. Okay? It is August 7th. We're in a pandemic, unemployed people, 160,000 dead people in the United States, a lot of things going on. Today is Friday. 6 months after this has been brought up to the Senate, they took a 3-day weekend. They're not even in, the Senate's not even in today. They decided to take a 3-day weekend. And this bill is just sitting there. So, my point to you guys is, I don't know what state you're in. I don't even really care what country you're in. I mean, I don't know if it's a bad thing for me to request other people to call or email. representatives in the Senate that this needs to be brought to the floor. And guess what? If they hadn't taken a 3-day weekend to be out there screwing around, doing whatever it is that they're doing, they decide during a pandemic they don't need to work. I don't know. Maybe they're out golfing. I'm not sure. But they decided to take a 3-day weekend while HR 2382 is just sitting there. Nobody's doing anything with it. And this is what is wrong, right? 14 years later, and these guys can't even vote on this. Because, by the way, come out and vote on it so we can find out who is being paid to not back the United States Postal Service. Planet Aquatic says Reagan wouldn't let this happen. Reagan's the guy that instigated this whole ball rolling of removing pensions and moving over to the 401k. So I would argue Reagan wouldn't let this happen, but he was the guy who started it. Him and the Bush family. So, yeah, it's a problem. And my point is, I don't even know if any of you all agree with me or disagree with me or not, but whoever is listening to this, I would implore you to reach out to your senator to get this addressed, to vote on it, to get it brought to the table, because it's just sitting there doing nothing. And it's just sitting there. It's just sitting there doing nothing. It's just... And I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't know what to tell you guys about that, but it is so infuriating to me when I talk to people and they're like, you know, your thoughts and your ideas are just so wackadoodle nonsensical that there's no way that could ever happen. Right? And more to my point, let's say that some of the organizational processes that I think should happen within the United States might be a little bit outlandish and a little too friendly and a little too honest progressive, right? But I will tell you, one of the ideas that I don't have is that everybody just decide to not go to work in our government while they make insane amounts of money. Their health care is not in jeopardy at all. Why are they not at work? I've never thought, boy, howdy, those guys should just have a whole bunch more days off. And you know what? If you're at the age where you can't show up to work full time, maybe it's time to not be obstructing bills like this from getting passed so that vital systems like the post office can continue to go and move forward, right? Everyone here in the fish community has had plants or fish or something mailed to you via the United States Postal Service, and the obstruction currently and for the last 14 years has been this. And yet, if I listen to conservative talking points like from Ben Shapiro, it's like, well, the United States Postal Service doesn't make any money. It's a bad business. Okay, well, it's not a business, you idiot. What are you talking about? Like, how can your point be that it doesn't make money? There's no intention for it to make money. It's not a private business. It is a service. It's in the name. It's like saying, oh, the Marines don't make us any money. So I guess, they're just not running the Marines like a business. Well, it's not a business. Planet Aquatic says, I have a package of shrimp currently missing in the United States Postal Service. I wonder why that is. The guy that they appointed is literally slowing delivery and slowing tracking on purpose. He's purposefully doing that to make it seem like the United States Postal Service doesn't operate well. And go like, oh, well, UPS works really good. It's using the United States Postal Service to deliver its packages. How can how can UPS be good if it's using the United States Postal Service to deliver its packages? Right? How can the United States Postal Service be bad and FedEx be good? FedEx is using the Postal Service to deliver their packages. So how could you say, oh, well, I'd like the private business like FedEx. They're so much better. They use the mailmen to deliver their mail. So how could you even garner that opinion that one is better than the other when they're all using the United States Postal Service to deliver their stuff? You'd have to at least only be as good as the one that you use to deliver your thing, right? You could, I'm better, but you used them to do your job. What? Oh, well, it's more costly, so it must be good. I don't know. I think that the United States Postal Service is 100% vitally important to the United States. We're literally talking about the infrastructure of the future and the past. Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world. They're just delivering stuff, right? All of the small businesses throughout the United States are in one way or another relying on the United States Postal Service to operate. I've seen every single senator get up on the floor and say small businesses are the backbone of America. And yet we somehow are going to try and hamstring the United States Postal Service. And I just, it's infuriating to me. It's beyond infuriating. I don't even know what it is. It's just like hurts my eyes. That's how ridiculous this is, And I've talked about it in the past that one of the things that I want to implement is expanding the United States Postal Service so that we could, train people and find out if they're a good worker, if they are of a mental temperament that could show up on a regular basis and do a good job. And we could probably, train them to, navigate neighborhoods, deliver things amongst the population, and not necessarily have really any power over anybody or anything like that, but have to interact with, a neighborhood of people that may or may not be, looking to a either federal or state representative to help them out if they need help at some point in time, like, for instance, a police officer or a fireman or a paramedic or whatever. Wouldn't the post office be a pretty good training ground to find out if, oh, hey, Steve always shows up for work. Steve is of a good temperament. He's been taking some of his courses to be trained and have a possibility. Maybe we're gonna help move him up to paramedic training, move him up to be a paramedic. He'll be trained to be a paramedic, and if one of those positions becomes available, he could make a lateral move, or maybe he could even become a private paramedic or whatever. Right now, we're relying on the military to train people. That's really like the only place that we have that's a government-funded training ground, and it's a training ground that I would argue is not designed or implemented for civilian work. If you join the Army and you end up in the motor pool and become a trained mechanic, none of your certifications apply to becoming an ASE certified tech to work as a mechanic once you get out of the military. Somebody explain that to me. You know? So the only place that people could go is the Army, the Navy, the Marines, or the Air Force. And now fucking Space Force, this nonsensical invention of spending money, right? We're going to spend $130 billion more a year so that we could do things like Space Force, but we force the United States Postal Service to cover pre-funding pensions for 75 years. And we also need an act of Congress for them to be able to do anything. Donald's Fish Vibe says, is the post office privatized? It is privatized, but it requires government oversight along with congressional approval to do things, right? So if they want to, for instance, I can't remember the exact dates, but the United States Postal Service is not necessarily privatized in the way that people would easily recognize. They basically took the United States Postal Service and stopped it from being 100% integrated in the government. And so it is kind of a unique situation, but it's really long to explain, and I will probably screw it up somehow. So I would recommend people go look it up and go like, oh, okay, let me read all the points and I can actually see what the hell's going on. But I don't know. I'm super frustrated, and we've hit the 2-hour point. But we got the Space Force, so that's great. And we're trying to undermine the Postal Service, which is not great. Just Bob says, difficult to talk about. Talk as someone from Holland. We are just looking on in disbelief. I do understand the frustration that there seems to be a gridlock all around. Everybody's looking at us in utter disbelief. I am looking at the United States in utter disbelief, and I am in it. I'm in the United States going, what? What are you doing? It's chaotic at this point, although also not chaotic. I mean, day to day, it's like, nothing's, oh man, I didn't even talk about what's going on in Lebanon, but downtown Beirut, my heart goes out to you guys, because I think everybody was literally just doing their day to day, and that extreme tragedy that happened, an explosion that just caused so much chaos and destruction and sadness and death, and my empathy goes out to all the people in Beirut who were just having a regular old day. And what's that? There's like a fire over there. And yet seems to also be a point of paperwork failure with confiscated ammonium nitrate, which, by the way, if people say, well, that would never happen in the United States, I would encourage you to look up the Oklahoma City bombing if you think that would never happen in the United States, because it literally happened on purpose in the United States. So Timothy McVeigh was his name. And so my heart goes out to you guys in Lebanon. And I can't imagine. That news was coming in, and I just was taking a break from work and just went to go walk around. I generally just walk around my neighborhood when it's time to take a break. I went for a walk, and I was just listening to the reports coming in on the headphones, and it's tragic, And I literally was just looking around going like, I don't know what any of these companies around here are doing. Are they storing ammonium nitrate? I don't know. And, I don't know. It's just, we're living in such a weird time right now. And as I mentioned earlier, I try to give people some pointers on what I believe to be the most effective form of preparedness I know a lot of people out there are buying tons of guns and ammo. I personally don't have to invest in that, mainly because we're already prepared in that manner. But I honestly believe every average person out there should be having storage of food, freeze-dried food that is sealed and non-reactive, right? Some of the water treatment tablets that I posted earlier. Oh, that's the USPS Fairness Act. So look that up, pass that on to your senator, and I'll find the water tabs link. So yeah, these are $10.99, and they're like 1-day delivery from Amazon, which is another reason that we need to protect the postal service. Because if you like Amazon being able to ship stuff to you, they won't be able to do it without the United States Postal Service. They sure as hell won't be able to do it for free. And those people out there that think that level of infrastructure would just, a private company will do the same thing. No, they won't. Try to ship something via FedEx, and that will be your answer. Most things cost $20, $30 to ship. And there won't be an opportunity for Amazon to be able to send stuff for free, for like the base $100 charge a year for Prime, So I got free Prime shipping, but you paid for it. You paid for it ahead of time. Last I checked, eating lead was usually not positive experience. Better to grow some veggies perhaps as a preparation effort. Eating lead? Oh yeah. Don't eat lead. Yeah, eating old ammo is not a good idea. 100%. Although I think that the average really prepared person should have a rifle for hunting at some point in time. But it's also like it's fairly difficult for me to give specific advice on those kinds of preparation. I think everybody should own a good axe. I think everybody should own a good flint and steel. Everybody should own a decent tent of some kind in case you realistically lose your shelter for some reason. But it's difficult to make. I think it's really difficult for me to make any kind of actual solid or give solid advice to anybody out there of being like, well, you should have a 30-06 because if you're going to hunt deer, you got to have a good solid rifle that you'll be able to, be able to hunt the deer with. It's all so situational that it wouldn't really work that well, which is why my advice is food, water, shelter. Those are the things that will stay you over so that you could utilize your human brain in order to figure out what your next moves need to be. One of the things that could be a basic thing, right, for people to implement would be if you are going to be in a I have to move situation, like if you're going to be hiking and sleeping in a tent for a long period of time, that you do want to switch to synthetic underclothes. You want to be able to have, like wool socks are important, that kind of stuff. Like there's a bunch of preparation type things. Like if you need to do, long hikes and camping and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, that's all situational, but everyone will need food, everyone will need water, and everyone will need shelter at some point. So, it's all very important. Joel, if there was mass shipments, the price would have gone down. Instead, the government post office subsidizes, which prevented better prices by private enterprises. The question is this sustainable? Yes, it's 100% proven to be sustainable. The United States Post Office has the infrastructure. They're able to innovate. If they are able to innovate and continue to innovate and not have to pre-fund 75 years worth of pensions, they'll be fine. And I will tell you from my interactions with the UPS, the Brown, what will Brown do for you? Their prices won't go down. Their prices will go up because they will have to go farther than they go now. or they just will underserve areas, as proven that they do now. Their prices don't go down. You could look at DHL. That's a company that operates throughout the world. Their prices are much higher than ours. You know, there are... I understand it's a complex situation, and I understand that there's a lot of people that have investments in FedEx or UPS and that kind of stuff. There are a lot of leeway given to FedEx and UPS also. UPS is one of the only companies in the world that owns its own fleet of airplanes. They own their fleet of airplanes, which is rare for, and I think they're the only private company that owns their own airplanes. But they're given a ton of leeway to do a lot of things that a lot of companies aren't necessarily allowed to do also. So it's not as though the USPS is the only person, the only entity that is getting the leeways. You know, those other companies are getting a lot of leeway too that wouldn't be presented to other companies. So, you know, that's a reality that we all have to recognize and know what's going on. Some dangerous goods shipments in the U.S. shipping system get stranded due to failed paperwork or inspections, becomes a volatile dead letter and shoved into forgettable corners in vast warehouses. A high probability, but I wouldn't be able to verify that from personal experience. Aaron Sato, Dave, GPS comes to mind, lightweight metal alloys, supercomputers, parachutes, 3D printing. What is going on? I'm confused. Dave Diaz is laughing. Let me scroll back here. Donald, I'm sure there's been innovations, but besides cool pictures from space, name one thing that helps out the common man. Oh, NASA? Oh, fuck. That list is so crazy long of what NASA has NASA is responsible for so many crazy inventions. It's... Oh, hold on. Here, I'll look it up for you. NASA inventions. This is a pretty simple thing. Infrared thermometer, ventricular assist device, the space blanket, contour crafting. 20 here's just 20 inventions we wouldn't have without NASA. Camera phones. You wouldn't have camera phones. Scratch-resistant lenses that I am currently wearing right now on my stupid face. CAT scans. So you wouldn't have the ability to CAT scan to find out if you had a brain tumor. LED lights. LED lights wouldn't exist without NASA, which currently being lit by LED lights. Landmine removal, which is going to be really essential now that the United States has re-implemented us producing landmines. Do you guys know about that? I've mentioned that in other live streams. The United States expanded the military budget by $130 billion annually, mind you, and part of what they've started to produce is landmines again after, 34 years of them being outlawed. Suddenly they're back again. Athletic shoes. Nike Air Trainers wouldn't exist if it weren't for suit construction technology developed by NASA. So you could argue whether or not tennis shoes are good or bad or not. Foil blankets, water purification systems. In the 1960s, NASA created an electrolytic silver iodizer to purify astronauts' drinking water. This technology is now widely used to kill bacteria in recreational pools. Dust busters, ear thermometers, home insulation, the jaws of life, wireless headsets, memory foam, freeze-dried food, which we're specifically talking about earlier. I met that guy. He works in Germany now. Adjustable smoke detector, baby formula, artificial limbs, which I know there are a couple people in the chat, or a couple people in my community that utilize artificial limbs. The computer mouse, which I am currently using right now. The portable computer. That's just 20. That's just 20 of the NASA inventions that benefit our daily lives. Top 10 NASA inventions. Let's see what we get here. Let's see what we get out of this list. Ah, crap. There's so much reading here, guys, and we might fall over. Oh, this isn't much of a top 10 list if it's just all written out. 9, anti-corrosion coating. That's pretty important. Arteriovision. Arteriovision pairs ultrasound equipment like this with NASA's software genius. Since the mid-1960s, scientists in the imaging processing lab at NASA's Jet Propulsion, the JPL, have been working to improve video imaging software so the astronomers can turn space probe data into increasingly vivid, high-resolution images of distant planets and other celestial objects. In recent years, medical researchers have applied some of NASA's software innovations to peer not into the sky, but into patients' circulatory systems for signs of, God, this is a hard one, arteriosclerosis, a common disease in which fatty material builds up inside arteries and threatens to cause heart attacks and strokes. Kind of important, right? Anyhow, NASA has invented, has led the way on a lot of inventions, and yeah. My glorious memory foam bed. Yeah, I have a memory foam bed. Although D does have a good point. There are a lot of underfunded scientists who could benefit from the money given to NASA, which I mean, I see the statement. But it would take a lot of critical analysis to find out if the scientists working at NASA were inventing more or less things than the other scientists that you speak of. So I honestly feel like more of the argument from my standpoint would be that all of this science needs to be funded. Not every science ever or every scientist ever, but if we're talking about underfunded sciences that we would see something likely beneficial from, then I think we should fund that. That's my standpoint. I'm, for lack of a better term, like, I'm a humanitarian. I don't want to fund and like develop things that aren't humanitarian. It makes no sense to me. That's kind of just how I operate my whole life, JS says your favorite NASA-based invention. I can't help but first think of Tang. Yeah, I can't help but think of Tang either, but I think toothpaste is one of them, right? So maybe toothpaste so our teeth don't fall out. The membrane in RO systems is from NASA. Yep. Velcro and duct tape. I don't know if duct tape is from NASA. I know Velcro is, but Velcro is vital. I have a box. Oh, check this out. This stuff right here, I don't have anything to do with this company. What are they called? Denser or something? I don't know. They probably, yeah, it's it's probably like a Chinese company or something. I don't know. Who the hell knows? But this stuff right here is awesome. So you got, it's like sticky. So you peel this off and you can stick it, and you have the hook and loop. Right, so it's both sides of the Velcro is like super sticky, and this is so awesome. I love sticking Velcro stuff to things. As you guys know, I regularly fail at cable management. I'm trying to get better at it, and one of those ways is some sticky Velcro, the hook and loop. You know what I'm saying? So we're 2 hours in. I gotta get going. I gotta get back to work. Otherwise, my work will not be done, and I will just continue going on forever. But I want to give a big shout out to our essentially our sponsors of the day. Let's go over to our viewer activity. Daryl Deemer, my man, your man, Daryl Deemer, my man, your man, the Fish Tank Barn, a.k.a. Mike, our two long time, and Janice Lundberg, $50 super chat today. That really does help keep the whole thing going here. And I know some people will probably be irritated, but this will most likely just go unlisted after the fact, just like always now. That's kind of how I do it now. So if you have your notifications turned on and you get a thing, you can always watch this later. Or you can become a patron or a member on YouTube, and you will always have access to this stuff because you'll get access to the Discord, and I always post the links up in the Discord. I want to say always, might not be exact. Let's say 90% of the time I post them up into the Discord because let's give myself a little margin of error and then not be wrong about what I'm saying, right? So I do my best to post them up there, and yeah. I love you guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We had the glorious 50 people here today, and I will hopefully see you guys on Monday. Oh, quick point. If you guys don't have your book club, book will be on Saturday, the 15th. That's what it's scheduled for right now. Saturday the 15th is the book club stream, so that will be a Saturday stream. Let me type this out here, and I'm what is that? 8/15/2020. There we go. Saturday stream on the 15th of August. We will be going over The Color of Law is the book. So Color of Law by, what's his name? Richard Rothstein is the book. And it really highlights a basic walkthrough of the segregated housing process that was all legally done in the United States over the last 100 years, and how that has led to this real disparity that we have now. And that's a big part of a lot of frustration in the United States when people say, hey, there's inequality in the United States. This is essentially a book that gives you a very detailed walkthrough. It gives you a very detailed walkthrough of how that came to be and how it was on purpose. So, love you guys. Hope you're having fun, and have a good weekend, and I'll be back Monday or whatever. I don't know. Who knows?